So we're not going to get nervous then.
Oh, hey Kev, when did you sneak in?
Kev, more than one I get nervous. More than one. How are you?
It's just loading the thing up anyway, so it's going to load a million and one things.
How bad is Ipswich sponsors new clients? So you can't buy vouchers in cash for more than £5. So it's still doing multiple £5 vouchers.
It's not much worse in the Ipswich shop worth more than £5.
You can buy anything in Ipswich.
Right, we're in.
We're in.
What band is that?
I can't see, Bartek, when I put my glasses on, I can't see anybody out there. When I take them off, I can't see anything here. Hopeless. Age, eh? Not to Is it, how many now? One minute. Sorry?
Get rid of me.
Yeah. Oh. Cool. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good. I'm just checking.
Tech.
Oh, we've got a tech issue. I don't know why I'm getting consulted on it because there's no hope. Is Gwyn still out there in case we have any people who turn up later? Yeah, thank you, Janet. The heckling has begun already. I know the naughty row now. The other naughty row. We need to know whether there's a non-naughty row, and then.
Is this one?
That one. Yeah.
Is this one?
We think so. Yeah. Okay. And
Kenny and Simon we're expecting. So,
Okay.
do you know whether they're on their way?
I've just texted to see if they're on their way, but I haven't heard back. So that might mean that they're driving. So if I get a message, I'll let you know.
Okay. Gwen, are you staying out there or not?
I'll let them in, stay them out, I'll put them around. I'm making sure lunch is really perfect for us.
We've got the most important things under control.
I'm expecting on time.
Just get taste tested.
Gwen, no eating the lunch before. So. Good. Well, good morning, everyone, and a big thank you from us all for turning up today. It's great, and Brian, as you said, I think our numbers we'll sell out next year. So no, great news that so many of you are here. I'm going to keep my opening comments very short. I'm going to start probably off by saying, and I can't say this officially, but congratulations to the foundation on some excellent people that, subject to a board ratification, will be joining. So it's very good to have a number of the new trustees joining us today, which is great. Thank you all for you being here, because I know some of you have come. We were talking earlier on from Essex and other places in the country, Norfolk. Is that right, Keith? You Norfolk? Yeah. So some pretty long car journeys, and that's very much appreciated that you've made the effort to be here today. How many people have we got online now? 13. So thank you very much to the people that have joined us online. We obviously hope you're going to be able to hear everything properly. Yeah, it's great that you've taken the time to join us today. I just also want to say a big thank you to the Hub team for all the work you've done this year. It's tremendous effort on everybody's behalf there, so thank you for that. And a thank you to the Foundation and the BVF for the collaboration we get between those three organisations. So that's great and very much appreciated. I will just talk about the agenda. So welcome from the chair, welcome. I've done that bit. Review of the 23 minutes, we'll talk about that in a second. Charlie will talk about the annual report and run through a presentation in terms of the annual report. Kevin will talk about the finance report. We'll then receive information about the voting procedures, which Claire will do. From that, we'll go into the various different appointments and resolutions, and then we'll take questions at the end. The intention is that we will finish by 12:30, and we will, at that point in time, we'll stop the video feed, but we're very happy to stay a little bit longer and take other questions if people want to chat. And we've got the very nice part that we've got some lunch as well, so we hope you'll stay and join us for lunch afterwards. Okay, so let's move on. Apologies for absence. No, just before I do that, it's hopeless, isn't it? I didn't follow my script. I knew I wouldn't. Today we have some departing trustees or departing directors, two of whom aren't here, so I'll deal with those first. So Dave Reeve is leaving really due to work and family commitments, and Dave over the last 2 years has been fantastic in terms of his knowledge of participation, his knowledge of other activities in different sports, having been involved in tennis and football. He's brought a lot of expertise, but sadly Dave just can't give us the amount of time, and he wanted to leave because of that. Frida will be very familiar to all of you, and Frida has given some 20, I can't remember exactly what she said, but something like 24 years of involvement with Volleyball England and the board, and I don't think you could probably get somebody who has given more to the sport in terms of her contribution. Frida was with us for the board meeting last night, and it was lovely to see her. My guess is that Frida's going to still be very involved in the sport. She won't be able to stop, but she's stepping away from the board. So a big thank you, Frida, for everything you do. The third person who is leaving us is Claire. Without Claire, I don't know what I would have done, because there's the brains and the one that talks a lot. So it's been an absolute pleasure to work with you, Claire, and your contribution has been mammoth over the last 7 years. I think you've had to put up with me for 7 years. Yeah, Claire will remain very much involved in volleyball from a club perspective, and obviously be in and around the volleyball family, which is fantastic. But Claire, I can't say it enough, thank you. We owe you a big debt of gratitude, so thanks.
Thank you.
Good.
It's been
Okay.
a pleasure. I'll be down at Moseley tomorrow running a junior scramble, so there's no escape.
Good, Claire, thank you. So apologies received from Jake Sheaf, Dave Reeve, Frida Boosie, Phil French, and Richard Callicott. And I understand, or I think Richard's not very well, so just on behalf of all of us, Richard, we hope you get better soon. And it's, I think this is the first AGM that I've been involved in that Richard hasn't been here with us. So maybe I've missed one, but Richard, all the best, and we hope you. Is Richard online by any chance? We don't know. We don't know. But Richard, if you are online, we're sending you all the best. So thank you. Okay, let's move on to the minutes of 2023. So first of all, we'll take any points of accuracy. Any comments on points of accuracy? No? That's always good. So we'll take that as a true record of the AGM last year. Any matters arising that people want to raise at this point? Keith?
Yes, Keith Nichols. Last year, forgive me if I quote you, you said that you were aware of things going on in the voting process that would potentially corrupt that voting progress. Your legal advisor was categorical that voting systems have been corrupted because of the actions, and the strong recommendation was the resolutions be taken off. He then went on to say, we will be going through a more formal investigation to really understand it, because I think it's important that democracy wins out as opposed to any sort of corruption of that process. So we will be going into a more official investigation, and we will come back with conclusions. We will make sure we update you guys as that process. On the web, you also made a full commitment. The board minutes of the 20th of July described the elections as being vandalised. Now, these are very serious allegations.
Correct.
Of corruption and people being vandals made against several prominent volunteers. I'm one of them. Now, I've been involved, in 1966 I was on the executive, and I've been involved for volleyball for years. And I don't take very kindly being told that I'm corrupt and I'm a vandal. Now, 12 months on, we haven't heard a thing. I think you are an explanation as to why, having made those allegations, promising an investigation, I haven't heard a word from you. I don't know anybody else has. If there's such a terrible thing, an investigation should have happened immediately. It hasn't.
It has.
And that is a bad reflection on your chairmanship, because you made a commitment. Can you update us as to when you're going to start that investigation?
Okay. Yes, I can, Keith. So the investigation started instantaneously after the AGM and is still underway. So we haven't concluded that investigation. So I can't comment further than that today.
I'm sorry, Chair. The allegation was very specific against certain people. You started an investigation.
Correct.
Under what process was that investigation? How can you, in all that time, not talk to the people you made serious allegations against?
Yeah, I can't, as I said, Keith, the investigation is still underway, and therefore, as soon as we've concluded that investigation, we will talk to the individuals involved.
I'm not sure. Anybody else think that's an acceptable way of dealing with
Well,
the problem?
Keith, more information has come to light that we are investigating. There is no findings, either positively or negative. We are still going through that investigation, and because it's an ongoing investigation, which goes through the disciplinary committee, we're not in a position. We're not in a position.
You are open, transparent,
Correct.
accountable.
Correct.
I'm asking you formally to be accountable. If you
Correct.
don't start a formal investigation,
Keith,
then I will ask you to retract those comments,
Okay.
which are scandalous.
Keith, there is a formal investigation, because I've just stated that. So for everybody here, there is a formal investigation. That investigation is ongoing. That investigation has not been concluded. When that investigation is concluded, then we will notify anybody who is involved in that, and we'll notify the sport. So it's still ongoing, Keith. So I can't comment because it's an active process.
So a couple of questions, if I could. So can you provide the names of the individuals who are doing the investigation? Because if you remember, my comment is that very happy for an investigation to take place, but it needs to be independent of both the board and the VE senior management team, so that's the case. So can you confirm that that's the case?
Well, James, it goes through, as you will well know, there is a disciplinary procedure, there is a disciplinary committee, and the disciplinary committee and the board are the people involved in that investigation.
So it's not independent?
No, there is no independent, apart from Sport England are fully aware of the investigation we're going through.
They're aware,
and fully,
they're not involved?
Sorry?
They're aware
No,
that
they are involved, but because they are an independent organisation and a funding body, they can't make any judgments at this point. But they are fully aware, and we've kept them aware all the way through the process.
And can I understand why you haven't spoken to the individuals involved yet, a year on from the beginning of this investigation? That seems like a incredibly important step to make sure that you get a clear view from them. So for me, this doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, that it can take over a year before you actually talk to the individuals involved.
Yeah, I mean, James, I have spoken to some of those individuals because I spoke to you. So we've had a conversation through the process. And at the moment, more information, we would have finished this, but more information came to light, and we need to investigate that additional information, which we are doing at the moment.
I think part of the concern, at least from my perspective, is that it's possible that there was accidental wrongdoing by a number of parties. Are both sides being investigated?
Yeah, James, I think the key thing within this is there is no inference, that there is no guilt or innocence until you go through the investigation. So we are in a process. At the end of that point, if we come and we find there was no wrongdoing, I will be the first person that says there was no wrongdoing. If there was wrongdoing, then obviously we'll speak to the people involved within that.
And what do you think the timeline is to draw this to a conclusion?
Well, I would hope sooner rather than later, because, you know, I'm sure all of us in the room want us to spend most, if not all, of our time on developing the sport. And these processes take time, they take capacity. I'm asking Charlie and Gwyn and the team to collect information and so on. It's time consuming. So as soon as possible, James.
Will that investigation also look at the whole context of the election?
Absolutely, Keith.
So will it look into the fact that the CEO, presumably with your permission, asked all members of staff to contact clubs, knowing and saying that he obviously released the information about how the voting was going, and in that it actually tells clubs they should vote for the board, and it mentions my name. Now, I think that's totally inappropriate. You may not recall, but many people will, that previously we had a situation where the CEO did exactly the same to try to influence a vote. Members were appalled, and the board then made a decision that elections should be done independently, and they employed the Electoral Reform Society to make sure. This is the same thing happening.
Keith.
You should not put staff in a position of compromise, and you shouldn't mention the person that you are alleging was corrupting it. Will you investigate that member of staff as part of this?
Yeah. Keith, it's a holistic investigation. I'm not going to comment on the specifics because, as I've said, we are still in process, so I'm not going to comment on the specifics. What I will commit to is that we will investigate the totality of the election process last year.
I don't wish to continue on this, but I think members who are watching and listening will read in silence sometimes is more explanatory of the truth.
Yeah, Keith, I
This has
can't.
got to be sorted.
Keith, I can't comment on what the membership will read into anything. I can't comment on that. All I can say is there is an active investigation. That investigation will be holistic. We will look at all angles within that. We will come back to the membership and to those individuals, and we will inform them as to what the outcome is. So that's all I can say today. Is there any other matters that we need to cover from the minutes last year? James.
Unless anybody else has, I have one. So at the last year's AGM, I asked about the independent review of government report, and you agreed to look into getting it published. Please can you provide an update? Specifically, when are you planning to publish the report? What actions from it have you agreed? And what recommendations have you chosen not to follow through on?
Yeah. I mean, some of the people in the room will not have a clue, and some of the people online will not have a clue as to what this refers to, James. So I'll probably give a little bit of context if I can first. So Sport England require NGBs to, on occasion, commission independent reviews of the board. And that's about board effectiveness, and it sits alongside the Sport England Code and compliance. What we did is we wanted to go through an improvement programme. We wanted to make sure that we were performing to the highest possible level. So we commissioned that report ahead of time. So we didn't have to do it at the point. That is an internal board review. There is no necessity or no requirement to publicise the outcomes of that review. It isn't a public-facing document. It's a board improvement document, and therefore we won't be publishing that review. What I will say is that we went through that review and it said in many instances board performance was very good. But what it also said is that there was areas of improvement. And you know, I've seen the facts and figures in the sport and talked about fairly consistently. What it did do is it talked about one of the issues being the performance between the board, the subgroups and the working groups, and the fact that there needed to be greater connection between those groups. And it made a number of recommendations as to how we can improve. We have taken multiple actions to make sure we do improve those things. We will continue all the way through the process to seek to improve our performance. We want as high a performing board as we can, and we'll do everything we can to make sure that that happens. And as a result of that, we'll again probably commission another review to see whether we've improved in the areas that the report said we could improve in. What I would say, and Charlie, you might want to comment on this, is we have to be compliant with the Sport England Code of Governance. And Charlie, as it stands at the moment, we are fully compliant. So Sport England have assessed the governance of the sport. Sport England have undertaken a thorough evaluation of the board and its performance, and in every facet we've been approved as being in line with the code of governance. So I think that's a very positive thing.
So if I can just follow up on that. So I guess I'm missing something. Your principle says you're going to be transparent. There is no requirement for you to publish this report, I understand that.
No.
But for the sake of transparency, why have you chosen not to publish that report?
James, I think there's loads of things that a board will discuss, loads of things. So not just about board performance, but it could be about welfare, it could be about safeguarding, it could be about a performance programme. Loads of different papers will go through a board, as you will well know. You will not, and we should not, be promoting every aspect of that. A board needs to be able to sit there and operate as a board. It needs to consider things in a confidential, private manner, and it needs to be able to make decisions based on that. In this instance, we chose to commission that report early. We did that. We took the findings of that report very seriously. We listened, we learned, we made improvements. Have we improved everything? I doubt it. Are we 100% perfect? I doubt it. Will we commission another report? Yes, we will. Will we continue to seek to improve? Yes, we will. So I can't say more than that. The board needs to operate as a board. And James, you and I have had conversations about a shadow board process and the fact that the board is appointed and it sits there and it has a role to play. What the board can't do is do all its business across the totality of the membership. You can't do that. You would never operate. And therefore, on certain instances, we'll choose to promote and publicise things. On other instances, we'll choose to keep things internally. And on this occasion, we've chosen to keep that report internal.
But I guess what I see is that you publish the things that you think are good, but you keep the things that are not good.
No, James, I'm saying to you, I'm saying to everybody, the report did identify areas we could improve. And I've been very open and transparent in the sense of saying the board's connection to the subgroups' connections to the working groups, that was a big part of the information that this report highlighted as not working. We recognise that and we put in place things to improve it. Is it perfect? I don't think it is perfect. Can we continue to improve? Yes, we can.
Okay. So you just said something, I had a question for later on, so but I'm going to bring it up now because you've mentioned it. You note that you are fully compliant with the Sport England Code. Please could you clarify what this means? So I think what it means is that you're compliant with the requirements, but not the recommendations. Is that correct?
I'm probably going to ask Charlie to comment in the first instance. I'm not totally sure, James. I understand your
So
question.
if you read the Sports Code of Governance, there are things that are required and things that are recommendations, and they are two separate things. My belief is that having read the code, that you are fully compliant with the required elements, but not necessarily with the recommended items. If
I think
give
we're
you a
compliant
specific
with all
example,
of them.
We're absolutely complying with the required. I would have to go back and have a look at the actual letter that we received from Sport England and how they define it, James. But I would be fairly confident that we're either complying with all the recommended or making significant headway to progressing with them, especially with some of the steps that we've taken this year.
Yeah, and I think, James, I remember 7 years ago, I remember seeing Sport England. And Sport England, the first I met the chairman of Sport England then, and the comment was, if there was a naughty step, the sport would be below it. So that was the comment that I had 7 years ago. We have been tireless in our efforts to make sure that we are compliant with everything that we need to be. And we've not done that because it's a funding requirement and we just want to tick a box and get funding. We've done it because it's a really positive and a good thing. And we have been tireless in that. That code has become more stringent, as anybody who's involved in this will know. The demands and the conditions become greater and greater each year. The code is exactly the same for the FA, with nearly 1,000 members of staff, as it is to Volleyball England, but yet we've managed to be fully compliant with that. Sport England now are using us as an exemplar of saying this is a sport that's representing best practice. So we are a sport where Sport England are saying you move from a very low point to a very high point. Now that I think is an achievement in its own right. But James, I mean the key point within this is we want to do this. It's not because we're forced to do it. We want to get better. We want to improve. Are we perfect? I don't think we are perfect. Can we get better? I'm sure we can.
I guess where I'm trying to get to with this is there's been a lot of comments about people saying misleading things and being not positive. And I think what I'm trying to make sure that we use language that's as clear as possible so that we don't mislead people accidentally into believing things that aren't the case. So, for instance, who's the chair of the noms committee?
Who chairs the you chair the nominations
I chair the
committee,
nominations committee.
So the Sport England Code of Governance recommends that the SID is the chair of the noms committee. So I just picked that as a specific example of not trying to find fault, not trying to do anything else, but there is the membership can read into things whereby there is a required, which you're compliant with, and a recommendation that you're not compliant with. And that's a choice that you've got, and it's perfectly acceptable. But it can be seen by the membership as being misleading when people say we're fully compliant with the Sport England Code of Governance. And all I'm asking is that we need to be really, really careful what it is. The second point, and this is why I'm kind of pushing into this conversation, my understanding of the Code of Governance does not measure the performance of the board. That is what the code, what the independent governance review is for. So, can you explain how you're saying that the board is performing, that Sport England thinks you're performing well, versus you're compliant with the code? Does that make sense as a question?
No, it does. It does, James. Part one, in terms of Sport England's assessment of our performance, we are in receipt of public funding.
Yeah.
And we're in receipt of public funding on the basis of putting forward plans and proposals and demonstrating how we're going to develop, how we're going to grow the sport. So a condition of funding is Sport England have to make sure you're compliant. So they have to make sure so that you don't get, it's like Monopoly, you don't get past go if you're not compliant. Everything after that is based on the submissions that we put forward to Sport England. and is based on the performance of the organisation and how we perform against performance indicators that we discuss and set with Sport England.
Which we report on a monthly, quarterly and yearly basis.
Yeah. So our performance has continued, and we keep a dashboard of metrics, and I know Charlie will talk about this in his report. We have a dashboard of metrics, and in every single metric, the sport is improving, the sport is growing, the sport is doing better. Sport England, as a result of that, have the confidence to invest in us and have the confidence to increase that investment. So do FIVB, so do CEV, so all of these organisations are looking at our performance.
So final question.
Yeah, and I am going to keep it as the final question, James.
So Sport England have received the independence governance report, and on the basis of that, they said they're happy with your governance.
Yeah,
Specifically on that report, they've come back and said yes.
Yes, and we have said to Sport England, would you be happy to write to or communicate with the sport to say they're happy, and they're very happy to do that.
So thank you.
Good. Okay. Is there any other matters arising from the minutes? I'm not sure as they were all matters arising from the minutes, but we probably knocked off a few questions at the end. Good. Okay. Let us move on. Charlie, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm trusting that everyone's seen the annual report that we've produced this year, and I'm going to talk through, I guess, a few snippets. But before I do that, and I want to echo, obviously, the comments that Adam made at the start, just a huge thank you to everybody across the volleyball community at every level for a fantastic 12 months working with myself, Gwyn, the hub team. We've had some fantastic experiences, great conversations, great moments in the sport, and I'm going to pull out, I guess, a few bits in a moment that really highlight the fact that we had progression as the key theme throughout the annual report. Before I do that, I just want to bring this back, obviously, to the game plan strategy, and in particular, the 5-year implementation plan that we are now on a journey towards 2028. And that implementation plan shows our strategic strands and lays out a number of success statements that we are, very ambitious success statements that we are aiming for. And there are a number of things that have happened in the last 12 months that are starting to bridge the gap between what we want to achieve and where we are right now. So first and foremost, and this has been the most significant piece of work I believe that Volleyball England has undertaken in the last few years, was the migration of our membership system, competition management, referee assign, our club development, all into the VolleyZone system, which, as we said throughout the whole process, we thank everybody in the volleyball community for their patience. It's not an easy process to go through this level of digital transformation. Could it have gone smoother? Yes. Could we have done things earlier at certain points? Yes, but we were very proud of the fact that not only did we get the system operational in time for the 24-25 season, but actually the feedback that we've had through the club survey has actually been very encouraging in terms of a number of the clubs already starting to see the benefits of the VolleyZone system. And I will come on to kind of 24-25 in a few moments as well. By the way, some of these pictures I may have to explain, but it's just the best way that I could actually just depict what I was meaning to say. But this is partnerships, and partnerships have really grown over the last 12 months. There have been a number of new partners, such as Mari, such as Steriplast. The Mikasa deal kind of went through just at the turn of the last AGM and into this year. But a lot of brands, a lot of partners to show that actually they see the growth potential of the sport. On Wednesday, actually just this week, we had the opportunity to be in Canary Wharf to actually do a business lunch to a number of potential new partners as well, and some follow-up conversations. So we're absolutely a sport that is being seen to be, we want to get involved, and I'll touch on why I think that's the case in a few moments. Some of you will know what this is as well, but this is off the back of the partnership. So this is Volley Store. So Volley Store was launched in June last year, so we've been operating for just over a year. Fair to say that it's been a voyage of discovery in terms of how the market behaves, how it works, what sells, what doesn't sell, how we can actually merchandise around events as well. But a very successful first year, profitable first year as well. And this is hugely important when it comes into us reducing that over-reliance on Sport England funding, and looking at obviously unrestricted funds that can then be reinvested back into the sport. So that is a picture of FIVB chair and CEV chair. So this is to depict international relations. International relations is a big part of our work in trying to improve those, and there's a number of things that we've done this year to really kind of push that forward. I guess most significantly is to work with FIVB in terms of empowerment funding and opportunities under empowerment funding. I won't steal Kev's thunder too much on that because it is in the finance figures. But also we took a really active role in the review and the strategy rewrite for NEBSA, our zonal association. So we're playing a much more active role now with NEBSA, and most of you will be aware we're hosting a youth beach tournament in Bridlington next week, which we're really excited about, and I hope some of you, if all of you can, get there, it'd be fantastic to see you. So international relations, absolutely on the up, and we're in a very big year for CEV because they're going through presidency candidates and new board members, so we continue to improve those international relations. This is just a barometer to depict, and every single metric from a satisfaction perspective is climbing. In some senses, very small incremental growth, in other senses, quite big. So when we talk about member satisfaction, club satisfaction, players, events, so when people come along to the events, and staff satisfaction as well, everything is moving in the right direction, which is really positive. This is to depict communities of practice, and again, I have to just some of the pictures I'm using here is the best way I could describe this, but the community of practice have now been live for over a year. It's fair to say that there's some ideas in terms of how we can improve the regions and counties communities of practice, but we've got a schedule now for this year, leaning on some of our partners with Sport England, Buddle, which is their club support element, safeguarding and other elements that we're going to bring in to cascade down and to support the regions and counties. This is to depict around our planning and better planning. This is something that I am particularly proud of alongside Gwyn as well. We've been really clear with the hub team that we're setting our operational plans, we've got our dashboards, we've got our measures, and importantly, we're going to stick to those plans. I think and this is not just a volleyball kind of issue, I think in a lot of sports I've worked in, there's been a tendency to get off course, to be blown off course, to focus on something else that's not going to bring a strategic outcome. But moreover, and I'll come to a figure in a moment because it's the last picture on this slide, I've been really proud of the way that the hub team have stuck true to kind of what we were trying to achieve, and this is why some of the numbers that you're going to see on the following slide are so positive. So the number of things that have happened around Super League, and Matt, who's sat over there scribbling away, taking some notes, has played a big part in this, and JC in terms of starting to kind of rebrand, but the Super League has gone through an exposure opportunity to grow the brand of the Super League, to increase its product value. Mari coming on board as a sponsor for the Women's Super League was a step in the right direction, and interestingly, we are speaking with some potential partners for the 24-25 league as well, but we also integrated some technology through Huddle, which is producing statistics, breakdown videos, which, as I'll come to in a moment, in terms of engagement, is a big reason why engagement figures have gone through the roof as well. Membership is up, and that's predominantly with juniors. So the sport continues to boom. So as we've said, I think in previous years, coming out of the pandemic, and maybe haiku being one of the things that really helped to drive that along as well. But we've continued to see year-on-year increases in participation, and there's no sign that that's going to slow down anytime soon.
I think
two seconds, Keith.
I think the key point here is that all of the insight that we're gathering is absolutely placing volleyball as a very popular sport for Gen Z in particular. It's on a list of most popular sports where it's never really appeared before. So everything seems to be pointing and showing us that increased kind of participation growth will continue.
John, just before you go on to Keith, was your question specifically to do with membership?
It was just about what you were just saying about the sport continuing to grow.
Yes.
I'm unclear as to what our actual club affiliations are. you quote a figure in the annual report, but you published an the results of the club survey. And on that, it said that you had the best response, which is good. You had 155 clubs representing 43% of the member clubs. Now, I presume this is your data person, but 43% gives 360 clubs. And you're quoting 398 clubs. So
yeah,
I'm a little
affiliation's open during
confused
the year,
there.
Keith. though. Yeah, affiliation's open throughout the year, though, isn't it? So when we're doing our insight, that would have been the figure that was relevant at
But
the
that's
time.
only
of
been
releasing
done a
that.
couple of months ago.
Yeah.
Most people's affiliations are done at the front end of the year.
I can take that away and absolutely have a look at it, but that will be the case. You know, we've got a very good and very knowledgeable insight analyst alongside our comms. But I can take that away, Keith. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
Good.
The other point is, the club, you're talking about the sport beginning to grow, but it's possible and probable that that is correct across the country, but it's not this association growing. I mean, we've lost. When I was last on the board, we had 11% more clubs, 458. We've lost clubs this year. Okay, COVID came in, but it did come up. But we're not making any progress. Now, if the game is growing, we need those people to be part of us. And that's my question is, how are we going to do that? We lost clubs. Presumably you followed up on why we lost them. But Sport England once said to Jeff Allen and myself, volleyball is a sport that's flatlining, and we don't see it ever growing. Well, if you look at the line, in 2011 we had 403 clubs. We've got 398 now. So that's taken 14 years. If the game is growing, and I know in my own local area, it's booming, but there's only 2 clubs. Yet the league has got 18. Now, it's a question, if we're going to grow, let's prove it by getting the people in. And
I think
my question
Keith,
is,
and I might,
what are we going to actively do
yeah,
to translate those in?
yeah, and Keith, I might be completely wrong in terms of my facts and figures here. I think growth in the number of clubs is not the important metric. I think it's growth in the number of players in the club that's much more important. You know, if you said to me, would I like 450 clubs of 10 people, or 393 of 100 people, I know what I'd choose.
But
So
the
I
number
think
of clubs represents the
Yeah.
association's representation, and
Yeah,
that
but I
must
think-
have an impact on Sport England.
Yeah, but I think, Keith, it is about strength in depth and making those clubs more resilient, more.
There's different ways to crack this nut, isn't there?
All I'm doing is encouraging you to try and find
clubs-
ways to get
yeah,
people
clubs,
in.
I agree,
clubs,
I agree.
clubs is one of them, absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's
which
fine.
I interrupted.
Just a couple more pictures on this, and then I'll move on to the next slide. So this is to depict, obviously, the huge, steep rises in our engagement. So Facebook, for example, has grown this year from 17,000 to, Matt, where are we as of today? 58? 50?
Nearly
58,000. And a lot of that increase, we believe, and we are attributing that to the short form video, the images that we're able to capture, the statistics, etc., where we're using that as the catalyst, if you will. And Instagram has grown significantly as well. We launched a TikTok channel this year, and that's starting to grow. We do have some new resource coming into the comms department through our fantastic relationship with Loughborough University, where we're going to utilise that young person to really grow the TikTok side.
Just a question on that. Is that engagements per post, or is that just engagements total?
Overall followers.
Okay.
What I'm going to do, James, is let's let Charlie get through the report, and then we'll take a short block of questions at the end of this, then let Kevin, because otherwise we're going to be here a very long time.
And the final picture here is just the I guess the summary from our operational plans here, which shows you the percentage completion across all of the tasks that we aligned last year by each department. By the way, I know you probably can't see because it's quite small, but we're going to share the slides afterwards. Where it says PVE, that's not Paravolley Europe, it's Plan Volleyball England. It's kind of mine and Gwyn's kind of element within this, but it breaks it down by the strategic areas and shows that across the board, across the 145 different tasks that we set ourselves last year, we completed 91% of them, which is something that we're very, very proud of. Now, I'm not gonna go into all of these numbers on the screen, but I will pick out a few key points here. There's a number of numbers, like I said, that are all trending in the right direction in terms of growth in participation, compliance with CPSU requirements in terms of safeguarding, the fantastic position that the Bellows are now obviously achieving on the world stage. And some of the other elements here in terms of, if I pick out the Moseley Rugby Club that Claire will be at tomorrow doing her scramble, opening during the period that we're reporting on as well. So as I've said, it's absolutely a progressive year. Everything is moving in the right direction, and this is not something that we're sitting here grandstanding saying this is all because of Volleyball England. This is the volleyball communities and everybody's achievements, and we should all be absolutely proud of those. So just some things to note in terms of what's to come, because James, I know you're a fan of us being clear on exactly what is coming down the chute. So in terms of digital, we're going to continue to, so we've been working actually since the end of the season to improve the volley zone system, which includes a number of small tweaks, but will make big differences. So for example, if a referee drops out of a game, the club's being notified. So that's going to be in for next year. But also the club landing page is going to be simplified. It's going to have a much kind of easier to navigate front end. Less options. That was the big thing we got out of the feedback. Was the best thing about this system is it's so configurable, and the worst thing is it's so configurable. So they wanted a simplified look, which we're going to do. We're also going to continue to work with the regions and counties, and we're really hopeful that we've got 2 regions and counties that are going to come on board in the next couple of months with the system as well. So they've been doing some individual sessions with Sport Loughborough. And there are 2 new digital programs. So we have our athlete management system, which has been powered through Perfect. That is we already have that. We're building that out as we speak for our talent programs. And one of the big things we need to get over the line, and we want to get over the line during this year, is the learner management system. So this is something that we can then start to drive all of our education, learning, training and development through as well. So Gillian and the Volleyball for Life team have got 12 different options, which we're going to narrow hopefully to 3 or 4, alongside some of the groups, the working groups, etc., to get the right fit for us. In terms of workforce and membership, so Gwyn, fantastic, all the effort around the people plan and all the consultation we've done. The launch of the people plan will happen in the next, hopefully the next month or so. The only thing that's holding that up at the moment is that we want to launch the Diversity and Inclusion Action Plan, the DIAP, because it's part of it at the same time. And we're just waiting for Sport England to sign off on the DIAP. FIVB project, so we have the coaching symposium, first time we're doing this in September, 14th and 15th. We will be opening that up for registration soon. But we've secured through FIVB support Jim Stone to come be the keynote deliverer of the conference, and we're building out the rest of the conference at the moment. So John Foreman and Gillian are across that. The referee development program is this year. It actually took place a couple of weekends ago. So Jeff Brio and Sandy Steele were delivered a fantastic developmental opportunity to beach referees, again supported by FIVB. We've got some accelerator programs for underrepresented groups. So Gwyn, I'm going to butcher the names here. Her call and the coaching one is called. It's coming. It's yeah, and I apologise, I don't know. But so we've got some accelerator programs that again are tied to the DIAP. We've got our club welfare conference coming up later in the year, and one of the big things actually that we're going to get into with Matt is to look at putting together a toolkit for clubs in terms of marketing and communications, and providing some templates, providing opportunities for clubs to be able to broaden their reach locally as well. We're not saying that clubs are not doing a good job at this at the moment. We're absolutely not, but it is something that's come back to us quite a lot in terms of can we get some support with this. And then we're going to continue to develop the community of practice, and I'll talk about 2 of those groups in a moment. Competitions and events. So the 5-year MVL plan that Simon and the A Service subgroup have been leading on will progress. We are looking at the Super League Live concept for the start of the 24-25 season, so the opportunity to produce live content at least once a month during the competitive season. The Junior Super Series was announced last week. We've got the beach tournament, as I've said, next week, and then actually at the next weekend we have the Golden Ring tournament that we're working alongside the BVF to deliver in Nottingham. There are a number of other events that may happen as well, but they're tentative at the moment, so I won't go into that too much. Talent, big thing this year is we have to resubmit to Sport England for the next phase of our potential funding. And the great news is the early indications are we will get an increase in funding. Now that is all I can kind of share at this stage. There's conversations. We'll get formal submission in October. But this is obviously much needed in terms of our talent ambitions. Everybody knows at the moment that the juniors are, it costs a lot to be part of the talent system and pathway, and is it the most inclusive environment? No, not at the moment. We want to make it obviously more inclusive, and from a senior perspective, it's all funded by the athletes themselves or through the fundraising and all the fantastic efforts that Janet and the foundation. Really interesting is the high performance beach program that's going to be based at VCU at the new indoor facility that is being built. So that should be open around kind of October, November, but there's a commitment for VCU to look at what does a high performance beach program look like in terms of coaching, in terms of the sports and exercise medicine, etc. Really exciting that we can develop something there that is a viable option for our athletes as they transition into HE so that they can further their academic and their athletic ambitions. I'll pick up on the last one as well because I am kind of truly proud of this, but we have spearheaded the setting up of a Home Nations working group. So all of the talent departments in the relevant home nations are now working together much more closely than they've ever worked before. And we're looking at ways in which we can increase the amount of home nation internationals on a yearly basis, coming together as a group of nations, not just the home nations actually, because we are going to include Ireland in this as well, and potentially Gibraltar as well. So there's a number of different countries that will come together, and we're going to look to do something predominantly around indoor because the BVF picks up the elements for sitting and for beach. In terms of commercial, we want to expand the shop, but we want to do it in a very considered way in terms of, well, what is it that the volleyball community actually wants? So there are a number of conversations ongoing at the moment in terms of how we could do that. We've got a new hire section that will come on the shop at some stage as well, because we do have some things in our storage that I'm sure would be a great benefit, especially if you think about that Super League Live, if there's ways in which we can get the Terraflex down, etc. You know, these are all things that are going to cost, but we've got to look at whether we can do that. And as I've said already, there are a number of potential new commercial partners that we are speaking to, innovative formats of the sport and continued conversations with in terms of FIVB and CEV support as well. And then I guess I've mentioned the facilities. So the final two things, there's no descriptors next to them, but it's just because I wanted to mention them because they are very important. So the players community is one that is going to gather pace. So Gwyn's been spearheading this, and we've been kind of going out front with two players, Grace and Cam from Mallory. Sorry, the name of the club just jumped out of my head. But there's a number of engagement sessions that we're going to get into now over the summer to bring in a much wider pool of players to start to get the thoughts and the feelings and make sure that the wants from the players are kind of circling back into how we're developing the sport. And then the final one, and by no means least, and a number of people in the room are involved in this, is the Heritage Project. This is so important in terms of connecting the history of the sport to the present and then to the future. So we've had an initial meeting with a group. The plans are just coming together in terms of, well, what does this look like, how will it operate, what are the key things that we're trying to achieve. But essentially what we want from this is a plotted history of the sport so that everybody understands where they've come from, where they are, and where we want to be. Okay? And making sure that the history of the sport does not get lost. And I won't go into kind of some of the other sports I've worked in and where this hasn't been focused upon, and then unfortunately it's been too late. It has to happen now. And we want to make sure that all of the history, the wonderful history of this sport is immortalised.
Okay.
That's me.
Good. Thank you, Charlie. And again, congratulations to the Hub on that. I'm not going to take any questions now, so let's save all the questions into the last block. Kevin.
Okay, I'm going to stand up if that's all right, because when I do mine, I find that with numbers, I'll talk about a number, and by the time someone actually finds the number, I've moved on to the next one, so it gets really frustrating. So that's why I'm standing up. So if you want to, so these are the management accounts for the year. So year ending 31st of March. They're currently being audited at the moment, but we are very proud in that the last 2 years, when these have been audited, the auditors haven't changed a single penny. So the profit that we showed you last year in this area is the profit that was made. So yeah, and they're taken from our system, so they're not just made up numbers. What this shows is that our total revenue for the year was 1636, so just over 1.6 million. What we're quite pleased about is the fact that it was 44k above what we budgeted, and we try and stick to budget on everything that we do. But the things that Charlie was talking about, it's £126,000 bigger than previous year. So that's the growth that we're talking about. Don't be put off by the reds, because that means we're actually investing in the sport, and the reds, remember, are variance to budget. So when we talk about certain areas being bigger than last year, growing last year, they might not be as big as what we'd actually budgeted. So if we go into them, Volleyball for Life, that's the talent area, mainly talents in that area. It shows that they, compared to the budget, they actually generated a surplus of 63, but we said when we set the budget it'd be 74. So it was 11k worse or down to budget. The main reason for that was there was 2 beach camps. The under-22s Euros was more expensive, and also the Commonwealth Games, the Junior Commonwealth Games, that was more expensive than was in the budget. And we did a bit of coach development as well, which wasn't in the budget. But that, we call that investment. So we've invested some of the money that we make in other areas into that area. Get, Keep, Grow, which is it's the clubs and its membership. You can see there that was slightly down. They generated 47, 48 against 52, so it was 5 and a bit down. Membership was actually down compared to our budget, but it was up on the previous year. So membership was higher than last year, but it shows red if it didn't quite achieve budget. So maybe we were a little bit too ambitious in the budget. An ACE service, this is mainly competitions and events, and it's the workforce courses that we do. They generated 80,000, we said 90, so it was 17 down to what we said. That was mainly down to the volley store actually started, although it's made money, in the budget we said it would make more money, and we said it would start. It didn't start till June. When we put the budget together, we didn't really know that much about it. We said it would start sort of April, May time. So it was a little bit sort of later than we said it would start. The other area in that is commercial revenue. And again, commercial revenue was, and Charlie mentioned it, was higher than last year, but it wasn't. Again, we were too ambitious in the budget, so it was slightly down to what we budgeted. But areas like NBL did really well, but then we did have some competitions that don't make as much money. In terms of finance and governance, this is then the sort of head office staff and those sorts of areas. So it doesn't generate much money itself, so it's always a cost. But it actually did 24k better than we said it would, and that was all about, there was one, when we put the budget together, we said we'd have a third person in comms. I don't know whether you guys knew about this. I think we did, but we decided that the 2 of them were doing such a good job, we didn't need to take that person on. And Charlie's mentioned what we're going to do next year. So overall, we actually had a deficit of 9k. Now, those that remember last year, we had a surplus of 10k, and we did say we would be using that this year and investing it this year. So that's exactly what we've done.
Great.
I put this slide up just to try and show where does the money come from. So the 1636 money that you saw on the previous slide, this is where it comes from. So we get Sport England money, we get other UK sport money, we get our own commercial income, we get talent income from the teams that are going into those events. That's what we get the membership. Some student income, mainly student income is in there, but we get some from events, Evo conference, people buy tickets and things for that. We've also got the dice that we do, competition and events, which is NBL. the volley store we spoke about, and the courses that we do. And this is where it's spent. So this is what we spend it on. This is the 1646, the little bit extra. But you can see we've got salaries, operating costs for the site, things like that. The commercial cost, which is much lower than it was the previous year, because we're actually doing that ourselves now. The talent costs, so when they're going on the events. Technical courses, student costs, which is the HEVO courses, where we give the HEVO grants out. We've got the DICE cost, the competition and events. So very small cost for MVL, but when we run the cup events and the Super 8s, that obviously costs money. We've got some volley store costs, and then the NSSF, which is the city volleyball, and that is the events. They went to the World Cup, they have their training sessions, and then in May they hosted the European Silver League. So the final slide, Charlie, as you're then moving forward, which moving across, this is actually showing the amounts that we actually used of the Sport England money and the NSSF money. Our bank balance, just to show that we are, that we've got cash. This, interestingly, one comment was made, what does this look like compared to previous year, things like that. That is almost the same as this time last year. It's different by £800. So that's the amount we had last year. That's before we get the latest Sport England money in. We've done the accounts, we've shown them Sport England, and they've paid us the next 6 months' money. So we've got that in the bank now, but obviously it's not in that figure. Looking forwards into the budget that we've set for this year, we've got income growth of nearly 11%. We've got volleyball, our own income growing by 43%, which is significant to try and make sure that we're sustainable and we're not as reliant on Sport England funds. Our budget closing reserves, if we achieve this budget, the reserves would close at 125,000. It's actually shown an investment. For the first time, the board have actually accepted for this year a deficit budget. So we're investing some of the reserves back into the sport again, which is what we did this year. And that's the first, well, it's the first time since I've been doing it, sort of 4 or 5 years, that the board have actually accepted that. And one area that we're very proud of next year is, again, this area where we've actually got additional funding. So FIB funding has gone up this current year up to 118 Swiss francs from 36 this year. So, a massive growth area there, and again, that's to help us going forwards, and it helps us invest that in the sport. So I believe they're a really positive set of figures.
Good. Kevin, thank you. Come and sit down. We'll just take very quick points of clarification. So if there was a number that you're not sure of and you want to pick up on, we'll do that, and then we'll save more generic finance questions to the end. Anybody got a specific question?
Is there a breakdown of junior competitions, income expenditure, and also the talent?
We do have that separate. Is that, sorry, what was the question?
Seems to be lumped into one there, is there?
Yeah, we do have all that split out. Yeah, so I'm just showing the summary there. We've got that detailed split out. Yeah, the only one now that they've joined together is beach. They just want to call beach now junior competition, junior beach.
Great. Okay. Good. Kevin, thank you very much for all your hard work and making finance understandable. So it's always very helpful. Great. Okay, so we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is everything to do with voting.
You're going to do 6 first.
Yes. Yes, so point number 6 is to confirm Jill, now I can't pronounce Jill's second name. Come on, Charlie, help me out. Oslager, appointment as an independent director. So it's just to confirm her appointment as an independent director. Great, okay. Confirmation of eligibility to vote. Claire.
Thank you. So first point, if I could just appoint 2 tellers in the room who are going to help count the votes. I think I may have a couple of volunteers who aren't holding any votes.
Janet, well done. Thank you for volunteering.
And Ali. Perfect, thank you. So they will come round and have a look at the votes. They've got quite a few to count up today, so bear with them. I've got a spreadsheet, and battery's running out on my laptop, so we need to do it relatively quickly. So by the stated closing time for the receipt of proxy and voting forms, which was 5 p.m. on Thursday the 20th of June, we had a total of 57 appointments that had been received and validated. In the room today, that does mean there is one person that was nominated as a proxy that's not here, so there are 56 votes in the room today. 7 votes have been submitted by clubs to appointed representatives, 23 votes have been submitted by clubs to nominated others, but one of those is the ones that's not here, so that's actually 22 today, and 27 proxy votes have been given to the chair. The chair has been instructed to vote as follows: 11 clubs have set out their votes and 16 have left the chair to vote at their discretion. Okay, so we have a number of resolutions to go through, but because just to give the tellers a bit of practice, we're going to do a practice vote. So I'm going to make up a resolution and we're going to hold up our cards so they can just see what they're looking at. So the resolution is, brace yourself for this one, I've been creative. So instead of using a volleyball next season for our competitions, we're going to use an avocado instead. Okay, would you like to vote for that, against that, or abstain? So the first vote we're going to have is who would like to vote for using an avocado in competition.
You've got 5 and 1.
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1.
Okay. So can you hold up and again?
Sorry.
8. Yeah, 8. No, oh, thanks for that. 8, 19.
So 35 for. Okay, who would like to vote against using an avocado?
Oh, you spoil sport. You spoil sport.
7, 8, 11. Well, can I just see yours? Four, 5, 7. Yeah, 16.
16, okay. And who would like to abstain? Did you two vote?
Absolutely. Yeah.
2. Okay, so that only adds up to 53, so we've missed 3. I think you maybe didn't
My smashed avocado got missed.
miss these ones.
And I thought you were going to go with the duck-billed platypus, but you didn't.
Sorry?
Stand at a different end to you.
Okay, but we've got the vibe, so we'll make sure we count everyone. But I will keep the total so that we keep on top of it. Okay. So the first resolution is an ordinary resolution, which means it has a simple majority decision is needed to be passed, so 50%. The resolution is to reappoint Duncan & Topless as auditor of the company, to hold office from the conclusion of this meeting until the conclusion of the next general meeting of the company, at which management accounts are laid, and to authorise the directors to fix their remuneration. So first of all, we'll take votes for that resolution, please.
How many have you got altogether?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Well, that's very helpful, thank you. That makes it easy. Thank you. Got 48. So you've got 10 on taking?
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. I just you just figure yellow ones as 2. 45. Have you got some James? 45.
6.
Let's see. 54. 55. I've got 55. 53. Oh, well, I'll go with your 53 now.
53.
How many total, Claire?
56.
Is anyone not?
So let's
Yeah.
carry on. So would anyone like to vote against? Would anyone like to abstain? That's 4. So do we want to count the 4s again, or is everyone happy we say that's 52?
52.
Everyone happy with that? Yeah. Okay, 52. No, not 52. Yes, 52. Keep it 4, didn't it? Yeah. Okay. Go back to my script. Okay, so the next set of resolutions are in relation to the election of directors. Again, these are ordinary resolutions, so require a simple majority. Oh, sorry, I should have said the auditors therefore has passed as it has more than a simple majority. So next resolutions are So the first one is to elect Alison Shipway in accordance with the company's articles of association as an elected director. So can I have votes for first, please?
I've got 55. From 55 as well. 55. Grateful for 55.
55, okay. Against?
That's easy.
Abstain?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. So that has passed as more than 50%, 98. Okay, so the next one is to elect Tracy Newton in accordance with the company's articles of association as an elected director. Can I do votes for?
You've got 4, Keith.
Yeah.
So, I think I've got 54. 54.
It's like a boxing bout. We just try to...
It's so exciting.
How many have you got? 54.
54.
54, okay. Votes against? Abstentions?
You got 2 abstentions, but
No.
Oh,
No,
what?
one.
One
The
again.
yellow ones are different.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so we're 1 short. So again, is everyone happy? We assume we counted wrong for 4 and say that's 55, or would we like to recount them?
It's fine. It's irrelevant, really. So
Yep.
passed.
Okay.
Cool.
Jessica Keane. So to elect Jessica Keane in accordance with the company's articles of association as an elected director, votes for.
I can't see you. I've got 54. 53. 54.
54.
54, okay. Against?
You against?
Against? Abstentions? 2. Okay, that one's passed. The next one then moves into the delivery lead. So the first one is to elect Simon Cowie in accordance with the company's framework document as the competitions delivery lead. Now votes for.
Resolution 3.
Yeah.
You've got 4 keys.
Yeah.
Yes, 4 for Keys.
56. Okay. Votes against. Abstentions. Perfect. Counting's getting better as we go. Okay. The next one is to elect Adam Barr in accordance with the company's framework document as the clubs and networks delivery lead. Votes for. 56. Okay, votes against. Abstentions. Okay, the next one is to elect Stephen McKieran in accordance with the company's framework document as the coaching delivery lead. Votes for. You went before I said it there. Votes for.
Oh, sorry. I've got 4 piles. I
That's a
was.
different number. Oh, yeah, that's different.
Oh, man.
55.
55.
Okay, votes against. Abstentions. 2. Don't the job of the thing. So 2 abstentions, yeah? Okay, so shall we assume votes for was 54? Sorry, the laptop died, so I'm just reverting to the spreadsheet on my phone. Okay, so that one has passed. So the next one is special resolution. So special resolutions need 75% of the vote in order to be passed. The first special resolution, so these are now resolution group 4, is that the company's articles of association be amended to delete Article 31.6 and by adopting a new Article 31.6 as detailed in the final voting form notice. And I have votes for.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. On the website, there's a question around this that's been answered. I just want to make sure I understand it so I can vote appropriately. The question is how do the proposed resolutions go against the law or the code of sport governance? That was the question, and the answer came back. The Companies Act places obligation on us as a registered company. The proposed resolution would compromise our ability to comply, not least as directors are under an obligation to act in the best interest of the company. The obligations in the proposed resolution restrict the ability, e.g. the need to put all applicants that fulfil the recruitment process forward and incur additional expense and commit additional time to run the processes when not required. That's not what it said, so that's what's on the website, but that's not what it says in the final articles. So what should I be using to base my decision?
What do you mean that's not what it says in the final articles?
It doesn't mention anything about breaching the law or the code of sport governance.
In the articles?
In the voting pack, that appears to have been taken away. It just says it's a waste of time, basically. It's unnecessary.
So that answer is correct.
So it's against the law.
It would restrict the director's ability to fulfil their director's duties under the Companies Act.
But if the company, my understanding is if the articles say that we want this to occur, then the duty of the directors is to follow what's in the articles. So it's not against the law, it's just changing their requirement that they have to follow under law.
The directors are under a duty to act in the best interest of the company at all times.
Correct. And if the membership specify in the articles that they want the voting process to be as described in the articles, then it's in the best interest of the directors to therefore then accept that. So I'm missing why it's against the law. It's a really important point, right? If what we're suggesting is illegal, then we shouldn't be doing it. However, it doesn't. There's nothing I can come up with that says it's illegal. It says that if the members want this article to be in place, then you don't have to follow it moving forward. So I don't understand why you said it's illegal.
So we don't have our independent legal advisor here today, who we've obviously consulted. But that's my understanding of the advice, is that that would restrict the director's ability.
Is it illegal or is it not? If
On
the
the advice-
association says and tells members you can't vote for it, that it's illegal, then have we got an legal opinion to say that it is illegal?
On the advice
it's
we've
very
been
simple.
given, that is the answer that has been posted on the website.
So how is it illegal though? Because as I say, that's not my understanding of the law on this point. So my independent.
I mean, James,
advice,
the key thing
my
here.
independent legal advice says it's not. This is legal.
But then you can obviously take your own independent legal advice, and the board has taken their independent legal advice.
Yeah.
Advice out though, suggesting the contrary.
Well, that's what we were told.
Yes,
that's what we were told. And James, the key thing here is we are going to take a vote, and whatever that vote dictates is the direction we will go.
That's wrong though. If you issued the wrong information.
Well, we haven't issued the wrong
voters,
information.
then
We have taken independent legal advice, and that independent legal advice has said that this is illegal. So we've only followed an independent lawyer.
Yeah, that is something that I did want to bring up, which is the problem, and again, apologies to any lawyers, put 5 lawyers in the room and you'll get 7 different opinions.
Yeah, but James, we have to follow the advice we get, and it is a completely independent legal advice. The assurance is they're going to go through a democratic process, and we will follow that democratic process, and we will take...
Even if it's illegal?
I mean,
Then we take advice on the consequences of that and how the board manages it.
Well, in fairness, why didn't you say it is illegal for these reasons? Because if you just say it's illegal and you don't give a reason, you're misleading people.
Okay.
We are supposed to be open.
So in fairness, Keith, we did give a reason, which James has just read out, which is all on the website.
We're going to take the vote. James, we could go on for a long time. We've sought advice. You've sought advice.
Some people may have taken that as the way of...
And they may have taken your commentary as correct. So there's been a whole variety of commentary out there with different conflicting views. We sought legal advice. We have articulated that legal advice. We're going to take a vote. The outcome of that vote will be the outcome of that vote. It's a democratic process. So let's move on, Claire, if we can.
Yep. Okay. So do you want, I'll read out the resolution again, so we're clear what we're voting on. So this is in the resolution group 4, the first of the special resolutions, that the company's articles of association be amended to delete Article 31.6 and by adopting new Article 31.6 as detailed in the final voting form notice. Can I have votes for, please?
James, can I see yours? Have you got all of yours up on 10? Is your 10? Yours 10?
Yep.
James, how many do you got?
6.
I've got 30.
I had 20.
29. 29. 30.
29. Do you want to count again?
Yeah, let's do that again. That's close.
1, 29. 29. Yeah.
29.
Sorry,
Okay.
can you just confirm that? I think
29.
29.
29.
Okay. Votes against.
Twenty-five.
25. Okay, thank you. And abstentions? Two. Okay, let me check it adds up. 56, yep. Okay, so that resolution doesn't pass as it's 53% and not 75%. Okay, so then we move to the next one, which is that the company's Articles of Association be amended to delete Article 32.5, the reordering of Articles 32.6 and 32.7, and replacing Article 32.1 as detailed in the final voting form notice. Votes for?
Have you got the same number as that?
28? 29. 29.
29. Okay, votes against? Any abstentions?
2.
Two. Okay, let me check that. So, yeah, 56. Okay, so again, that one reached 53 or 54 if we want to round it up. So that doesn't reach the 75% threshold, so it doesn't pass. And that concludes the resolutions to be voted on today. I will just add that the talent delivery lead position, which is one of the working group leads, remains vacant. So if anyone out there is interested in taking on that role, then please do get in touch. We've had quite a lot of interest from members to sit on these groups, but we're looking for someone that can lead it. So if you're interested in leading it, get in touch. There's plenty of people willing to help you and beyond that, and that would be really fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Claire, and thank you, everyone. There was one commitment that we made, and I think Jim's probably in the dialogue with yourself and others, that in the special resolutions put forward, there's, as the board quite rightly said, there was elements that we were really in support of because we felt that they were improving. What we are committed to do is making sure that we do make changes to the framework document, and we'll be consultative in that process to make sure that that's reflective of, obviously, a view where there's, you know, some 50% of the vote was in favour, and therefore we will commit to look at the framework document with you. Okay, good. Let us move on. I do apologise. I'm 20 minutes over where I said I would get, which is nothing new for me. We will conclude things by 1 o'clock, so we'll take any general questions from the floor first.
You just mentioned the framework. The framework, as it's published, is not legal. There are sections 3 and 4 conflict with the articles. I've raised this question last year, and it was reported, and the official response was changes to the framework development support out don't require AGM approval and are updated in line with through board or delegated approval. It does require in the articles that any changes are put to the AGM. Last year it said through board approval. There's no board approval for the changes to this document from the original one. It's a nonsense. I mean, I'm quite happy to pass it. It's a nonsense. This year again, I wrote to the CEO and say, check the framework, it still doesn't comply. Can you look at it, please? I get back to reply, I've looked into all the issues you've raised and we are fully compliant.
Yeah. Keith.
That's bad governance.
Okay.
Can we sort it, please?
Okay. So, Keith, we've had, and you know, we're very open to have an ongoing dialogue with you. I think to have that dialogue where you have one opinion, we have a different opinion, we think we're right, you think you're right. I am not sure doing that in an open forum here is the most. Keith,
it's a governance document.
Keith,
which is very simple. I'm not arguing about it.
No.
All I want is you to just make sure that it aligns with the articles. It talks about membership, it talks about committees, which is completely. Nobody on the board appears to have approved this, as we're told. All I'm asking for 2 years, just sort it.
Okay. Okay, so Keith, I think the sensible thing is we want all of our governance to be at the very best level it possibly can be. We believe it is, you believe it isn't. We will continue, and we're very happy to meet with you, as I've written in every part of or piece of correspondence I've had with you, to say I am happy to meet with you personally and discuss any issue. Keith, that applies to anybody in this room or outside of this room. I'm really happy to have those conversations. The commitment I would make is that we will continue to look to be as good as we possibly can be and as compliant as we possibly can be in our governance. And I don't...
Can I make a suggestion? Because obviously the previous commitment to look at the articles and making some changes to the framework document to reflect the bits that the board liked, there's the opportunity then to review some of the things there that Keith has just flagged as a result of that, because it can go through the whole review process.
Yeah, good.
Sensible solution.
Okay, any other questions? Yes.
I've actually got a question. We were actually seeing your accounts and how the Volleyball England is growing in terms of participations, individuals, not rather than clubs, but more as individuals, memberships, etc. There were a significant amount of teams that wanted to register with the National League, and I think, from what I remember, was 15 that were denied the opportunity to actually register, to then make the payment to Volleyball England for registration, to then obviously assign more referees and giving them more opportunities to earn their fees, etc. Why was that denied if we're trying to grow a sport within a country?
Simon, do you want to touch on the NBL 5-year plan?
I think there's just there comes a point where then the feeling was that the NBL just grow. If it just keeps growing and growing and growing, you sort of dilute the quality, and it's starting to take teams away from regional competition. So I think the whole sort of premise behind the start of that 5-year vision was a feeling that the organisation was almost, the expression we kept using about being more comfortable in its own skin, sort of said, you know what, we are in a position now where we can actually, we're financially comfortable, we can say we don't just need to welcome every single team in because they represent another £500, £600, £700 on the bottom line. We can just say, do you know what, we're going to close this off, it's going to be 84 teams when it's finally closed next season. And we're just going to try and work with the teams in there to improve the quality of the product, the quality of what's happening on the court and off the court. So I think Kev's figures sort of make the point. It's like we're not in a position like we were when I first joined the board 7 years ago, where you take every opportunity to say, bring in your cash, because we need it for the bottom line. And now we can say we feel comfortable, and we're going to use the levers we have to sort of say people still want to be in the NBL, to sort of say, right, well, we're going to try and work with you to drive up standards. So it's a matter of it's trying to create a more quality product and getting away from the point of saying we don't just need to just bring in every last penny that is available out there.
So just to revert it the other way around, so basically whoever will not be good enough for that club anymore, you're referring them back to go and grow the local league where you can play local volleyball within your local communities.
Yeah, so I think that's probably the next stage of that 5-year plan, is to make sure we work more closely with the regions to say, right, if clubs are being not denied entry, what can we do to try and...
That was actually my next thing. How are you supporting the locally? Because we've got one obviously in Chelmsford, which is huge, and because it's growing so massively, there is no space for them anymore. Hence why we wanted to bring another National League team to almost release a bit of pressure there, so we can move it a bit here, or we can manage it better. But it was almost pushed back there, and we feel that there isn't that much support across the local leagues now, following your decision for another 12 months. Like you said, you're going to look into that the following year, what's going to happen within the next 12 months, and how detrimental will that be for the volleyball?
I think, and Simon's much better qualified to answer this than I am, but the key point you're making is anybody who wants to play competitive volleyball should have the opportunity. Absolutely, that is the situation. If we've got hiatuses somewhere in the country where that isn't happening in the way, what we need to do is we need to work with those areas to work through a solution. So I suppose, albeit I'm not going to comment on the specifics, we mustn't leave players wanting to play competitive volleyball with nowhere to play. And that's got to be that's got to be the totality of our commitment, hasn't it? Yeah. So I think probably rather than continue now, we'll just work with you to find a solution.
Can I just build on that point though? I was reading the game plan and the vision and strategy, and it quotes, at Volleyball England, our purpose is to lead the growth and improvement of all disciplines of volleyball in England. For me, what you've done is you've sacrificed the growth for the improvement. So are you going to update the game plan to recognise that?
I don't think we have, James, to be honest with you.
Well,
I
you
think
just
what
heard you
no.
You have.
I think what I just said is that anybody wanting to play competitive volleyball, we need to find a solution. I've heard for the first time about the situation in Essex, and I'm probably not the best person because others will be closer to that. We have to work with you to find a solution. So in your very specific situation, 2 seconds, Brian, and there'll be other scenarios, I'm sure. However, James, we want to generate more commercial revenue. We want to create a better product that's more appealing for external investment. So we're trying to balance. It's a set of scales, isn't it, James? And what we need to make sure is that we're improving the quality, because that's more commercially viable. That is going to draw in more money. We can do more. But equally, there mustn't be any player who is left without a competitive opportunity. Now, our commitment to you is that we'll find those competitive opportunities in some form or other. I mean, Simon, am I happy to say that as a... So James, I don't think the...
I'm sorry, that's unacceptable.
Well, I don't know...
Adam, just let me...
Yeah, no, please.
The point is that you aren't responsible. You take no responsibility for grassroots volleyball. Yeah. So Simon can't generate opportunities for volleyball in Essex. What he can do is he can generate NPL opportunities in Essex. You have other routes to improve the performance.
Yeah.
You've got the Super League, you've got the performance plans, you've got the minimum operating standards that are all there and available to you.
Yeah.
You have deliberately chosen to restrict the number of teams entering the NBL.
Correct.
Without a good reason.
I believe there is a good reason, James.
Well,
and I've just articulated. I have said we are trying.
Persuasive.
Sorry?
It's not persuasive.
I mean, it's persuasive to me, James. It's not persuasive to you. The issue from Essex was completely the first thing I've heard. We are the governing body for the sport in England, and therefore we have a duty to work with any local organisation, to work with across the sport to help. Will we always find an instantaneous solution? I doubt it. We will do all we can. So, I mean, my commitment to you is that we will work with you to try and find that solution. But equally, James, I'm not apologetic for the fact that we are trying to drive more revenue into the sport, and we need to make sure that the quality of the product is appealing to commercial investors, is appealing in terms of broadcast. Whatever we try and do, we need to invest in that.
I have no disagreement with that whatsoever, and you have plenty of opportunity to do that with the existing model. There was no requirement to limit the NBL entries, none whatsoever.
Okay, James, the difficulty is here. We're sitting here with a debate rather than an answer to a question. I've given you an answer. You disagree with me. I disagree with your statement.
Why? Why do you disagree with my statement?
Because James, you're saying you're saying we should accommodate those teams in the NBL.
And why not?
And I am saying we shouldn't, because we're trying to improve the quality.
I'm not disagreeing with
James,
that. I'm agreeing with that. What I'm asking you to say is, why can you not do both?
Well, that's what I'm saying. We are going to work with that very specific situation in Essex.
No,
James, I'm going to...
NBL.
Yeah.
I'm talking about NBL.
Yeah.
Why can't you do both in NBL? And maybe
I mean, Simon, by all means, I thought I had answered it, James, but perhaps
it's
not.
Just a difference of opinion, isn't it, James? We had a group came together and we thought, what are we going to do for that 5-year vision? And one of the things we talked about was bringing up that drawbridge at the bottom so that we're not going to continue to just dilute the standards. What do we want? An NBL with 200 teams in it? I think we all said within that group, competitions group talked about as well, that the quality, the standard at the bottom end of our NBL pyramid is not great. And if that is, I appreciate for every region that might be struggling with teams going back into their regions, there are other teams who are struggling, other regions who are struggling because clubs just want to go and play NBL. We need to help them address that.
Yeah, and James, you chaired a competition working group for years. And in that chairmanship, you made decisions.
Yep.
If every single time you took that decision to the sport in totality and said, is my decision right, you'd have got some people who would have been hugely supportive, some people would have said, that's a complete load of tosh, don't do it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So that competition working group and the board and the subgroups have to make decisions, because that's what they're there for.
Yep.
Sometimes you're going to agree with me, or sometimes you're going to agree with the board and the subgroups and the working groups. Sometimes you will not. But that's the remit of those groups to make decisions. They've made a decision. Whether in time it proves to be the right one or the wrong one, only time will tell. I think the commitment needs to be that if we're in a situation that we have got players wanting competitive opportunities at a level, forget the title of what that is, if we can't provide that working collaboratively, then we're not doing our job. So our commitment is that we will work with you to sort it out. Brian, you had a question.
Yeah, it's related to the same issue, which is, I mean, obviously I've chaired a regional subgroup for a number of years as well. And one of the big problems was the disparity of organisation across the country. And that applies to this particular issue. So Lenny Barry, for example, tried to get the North West Regional League together. There was not enough interest in it. West Mid is all regional, or predominantly regional, should I say. We do not have consistency of approach, and that's where I think the challenge is. We need to sort that out so we've got a proper hierarchy, because nothing seems to be.
And Brian, I think, you know, the communities of practice, I think is a good process in terms of doing that. There is a lot greater dialogue now with those regional bodies to try and drive. It's always going to be difficult because there's different contexts. You know, in some it's very strong county leagues, in some it's very strong regional leagues. There is a different context, but what we need to do is keep that dialogue going and find solutions. And I think the point you make about hand up, we've got a problem, is great, because then we can try and sort that problem. So I think it's two-way, isn't it? Communication.
It's a good problem to have.
It's a great problem to have.
So many players, it's a good problem to have. The fact that we're trying to get Volleyball England at a higher level to bring more sponsors and sponsorships and commercial, that is all great. I just think the structure underneath that, for that great problem to have for these players to play competitively, it's got to have some sort of structure behind.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Without, you know, negotiating things on the national league. I'm not, you know, questioning that. It's just what's happening before.
Clubs and networks working group.
Yeah, Charlie, you come.
Can be a pivotal part. So Adam Barr's obviously been elected today, so we can. Sorry, I was seeing if there's any water left in my throat's a bit dry. Sorry. Yeah, with Adam Barr obviously being appointed, elected today to the clubs and networks group, this could be a key topic of discussion because Adam's going to need some advocates. So I'm hoping that with the energy that we've got in the room, you'll be putting your hands up to come and join Adam's new working group to help with this issue.
Brian, I'm going to take two more questions. So Brian, Nick, I'm going to take three. So I'm going to go Brian, Keith, Nick, and then we're going to close the AGM because a lot of people are sitting in front of a screen, and I want to allow them to get off that screen.
Final point related to that. I mean, I've chaired Greater Manchester. I've now got clubs from Preston. I've now got clubs wanting to join us from Chester. What was a Greater Manchester League is suddenly expanding, and I've got problems because people say I don't want to travel that far. So it needs to be sorted.
Yeah, and so I think the message to anybody online and to this room is, you summed it up brilliantly. It's a great problem to have. Let us feed those problems into the system. Well, it's an opportunity, isn't it? It's a great opportunity to have. Let's make sure we get that right. Keith.
Can I make some observation opportunities and make an offer? Long while ago, it seems now, I led a campaign to Sport England to get them to change the size of the sports hall. It hadn't been changed for 50 years. And working with basketball and with netball and with badminton, we managed to change it, to make it wider. Unfortunately, they can make a recommendation. The education people building the thing said, we don't need it for school, so forget it. But I put a proposal forward to Volleyball England, and we actually advocated a two-court system for people. I designed the sliders, which are now made by 4 companies, which help it. But it's all gone quiet. My late daughter's got a foundation, and we receive inquiries nearly every week from people saying, our club has got too many people, what can we do about it? And I send them details of the two-court system, and we assist financially with some of them. I put that forward to Volleyball England saying, I'm prepared to lead something on this, but it's not got anywhere. Can I make a plea? that we actually adopt something. The fact we've now got an indoor pitch is great. We had one in the Leaf Academy and we lost it.
Yeah.
I was talking to Frida, she built a 2-court hall system. Years ago, we never followed it up. I built the SportPark, 4 courts and a double hall. It's used, but geographically it's not. We must as an association recognise if we want growth, we have to have facilities. There's hockey clubs near me, they've got 2 Astro pitches, they have now finished, they will not be used again until September. But they got grants from Sport England, grants from the lottery. What are we doing to go along with Sport England and say, we, and hopefully with basketball, we need specialist facilities and you've got to start supporting it. We don't make a noise. So we should be leading a campaign on that. I'm prepared to help. I'm talking with one of the leading manufacturers now about a more economical design of the sliders. And hopefully they will take that on board. If they don't, I'll go for the others. But we should be putting this 2-court system. Those clubs who've done it can take twice as many people. It's wall to wall. For goodness sake, that's an active thing we can do to create the opportunities for people and for the clubs like we've heard. So I'm offering to assist in that.
Great, Charlie first, and then I'll comment.
I hope everybody, the impression that they have of me, Gwyn, and the hub team is when you offer help, we always take you up on it. I don't think we've declined anybody when they've offered help. Gwyn has been kind of leading the charge with Sporting, and I think you get all of those wonderful emails, Gwyn, on a weekly basis where we're being consulted about X, Y, and Z. So in response to your offer of help, why would we say no to that?
We should be making a bid to Sporting England for a grant, which you can say to clubs, you can apply for that grant, £2,000, and let's make a strong case and push, and our clubs can play.
So yeah, Gwyn, let's take this one. The offer of help is heard, it's accepted, and yeah.
And Keith, I think there's another. So out of somebody's downturn is an opportunity for us, and since COVID, and Ali will know from active partnership days, leisure trusts, as being the primary operators of leisure facilities, are really struggling. They developed contracts, long contracts pre-COVID. Those contracts are now undeliverable because COVID, they lost so much money during COVID. So you have a lot of facilities where the leisure trust is wanting to depart and the local authority don't want those facilities. Community asset transfer now is huge opportunity. And I think what we need to do is not always about building new, it's about realising there's opportunities with existing and actually grabbing hold of those opportunities, because there is many. And I think as a sport, if we work collaboratively with basketball and other sports, we should be able to go and say, well, perhaps we can take over those facilities. And Janet, you'll know this through AP days as well. So it's a real opportunity. So I think it's about building new to the right specification, but it's also that unlocking potential that exists. And you know, we've talked to the armed forces, and there's facilities in armed forces bases that have been decommissioned and so on. Good, thank you, Keith. Nick, last question.
Well, mine are more a conversation more than anything else around children and young people, mainly around accessibility. Can we ever think about, like Volley Zone, which does my head in, but can we have a big think, because the people that we're asking to now access that are newcomers to the sport, new parents to the sport. Strangely enough, not all of them have got English as a first language, so can we thinking about that as a point of interest. Costs. Charlie mentioned about the talent programme. If we're not careful, we're going to become an elite sport, which is very, very dangerous. So all of these ideas about generating funding from various people, can we think about putting that into the junior programme, so we can get these talented people coming through that are not having to pay a fortune, which...
You've heard me say this, Nick.
Yeah.
I'm more concerned with who can play rather than who can pay.
Yeah.
And it has to be that way around.
It's difficult. It's difficult. It's not a criticism, it's just an observation of the board when you're thinking about things, just take on board a couple of these things. Website as well, spoke to Gillian a little bit. I think they're really looking at it, but the idea that somebody goes junior, there we go, I'm straight into it. I've had 2 requests this week, strangely, from 2 people who are pretty good at volleyball. What volleyballs can I buy? Where do I get them from, etc. Now I know we go old volley shop, but we need people to be able to click onto something and go, what equipment do I need? Where's my local club? Our club isn't on there, although it should be, by the way. All those little bits of information that I can just click onto and not search around, because all the answers are on the website, but I don't think they're linked up as well as they could be for the inexperienced PE teacher who suddenly likes the idea of a primary teacher. I mean, we've got some good resources now, we've got some good development going on, some good competition. My concern is back down grassroots level is where we need to think a little bit about that. Got this player community idea, that's good, but can we think about, rather than just your 2 seniors, have we got 2 16-year-olds who could be part of that community?
So just so you're aware, we're establishing it with the older players at the moment because it's easier. And then obviously you'll start to then we'll think about the young person's voice and getting the younger groups established. We've had some really good conversations about how we're going to move that on during the summer months. So yeah, it's in the planning.
Because I think your junior bet is your key to your shop, because if you start selling sliders and all flip flops, shall I call them, and all those sorts of gear on there, that's a money making idea.
Okay. I'll give you a commission on that.
Sliders is so the money.
You're so down with the kids there.
Anyway, regions and counties. I mean, Brian's just sort of touched on it a little bit. I've been asking or trying to get for the last 6 years some idea about what that actually looks like. Who the counties seem to pop up when we have the interregionals for juniors. That's the only time I go, oh, we have got all of these regions. Who is the person who drives the juniors? And a few years ago I put forward a proposal that you have a junior coordinator, not officer who has to go around and teach everyone, someone who can sit in their living room and gather information and send it out. And I want to know who those people are, because the next stage in our competition is what is happening in the 2v2, 3v3, 4v4 regionally, so I can pull that together. That can then be put so that if I'm going down on holiday down to Devon, I can have a look and, oh look, it says there's a Volley 2s competition. Our kids that age, I can get them in there. But we can only do that if we've got things to hang your hat on. So I think that's really key, that when we've got regionals, let's nail them down. What are they? Who are they? And there's the junior bit to it. That is just, in my opinion, really key. And the last one I've written down before sports halls was mentioned. That's the massive thing. At the beginning of the year, I said the one thing we need to get in every sports hall is a net slider. I've changed my mind. At the end of the year, what we need is sports halls, because I'm sick of desks in sports halls. I'm sick of people saying I haven't got this, I haven't got that. It is really slowing us down. Your league would fly if you had about another half dozen sports halls, and you know.
And it's a lot of coordination for us to meet with a local league, the social players, all of that, and the whole availability across the Chelmsford and surrounding to say, guys, can we share? How can we share? What can we make that?
One of the, Nick, just on that last point, and I might be, please don't say I'm absolutely right on this, and Ali, you might know, Football Foundation was obviously a massive investor in football. Football Foundation is now saying, we've been a massive investor in football, but we need to help some other sports as well. So Football Foundation has multi-million pound investments per year, is now looking at other sports, investment within other sports. I think football will always be a part, because that's where the funding's coming from, but they're being much more flexible in terms. And I actually think it's organisations like that that will lead the charge, because local authorities won't. Capital investment from local authorities is a long gone thing. It's just not going to happen. But external organisations like Football Foundation, I think, will start to pick up the slack, and London Marathon Foundation and so on.
Volleyball England to focus on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it does come down to the next sliders, which Keith has mentioned. We've got a forecourt facility in our city, and if we had let sliders and they could pay a little, you know, wouldn't have to pay so much, that would help.
Great.
But all of this is just down to thinking about grassroots juniors. There are a lot who want to play. We've now got the volley 2s and the 3s and 4s being developed, which are actually giving the information to people in primary schools and junior clubs that are going, oh, that's how you do it. And we need then to make sure the localised competition is there and everybody knows about it, and we get that as a little bit more regular. So our 3-a-side looks very similar to what's kids doing.
And Nick, I think the massively key part in your message is our planning has to be holistic. You can't build the top without the bottom. You can't build the bottom without the top. You know, we need, and it's multidiscipline as well. So it's a really good message, and I'm really glad we recorded all of that, Nick, because there was some real pearls of wisdom. So
I do want to, your club's not on the club finder.
Yeah.
Right, that will be rectified by close of play Monday.
okay, good. We're gonna conclude things. Again, a massive thank you to everybody being here today. There was some testing and challenging questions, and that's right and proper that there are. I think it's a good thing that we're held to account, and similarly, it's a good opportunity for us to be frank in return. So thank you very much for dealing with everything in a really constructive manner. Our doors are open. We're really happy to have those conversations whenever and with whoever wants to have them. So thank you very much. Thank you guys and thank you people online for sticking with it. And thank you for the hub team and the board for all of their work and efforts. So on that note, we will conclude the AGM and hopefully go and have some nice lunch together. Thank you.
Thank you.